different black women prosecutors who are catching hell, literally, because they're
Can
pushing
you all
a
hear
progressive
us?
agenda. Criminal
What about
justice
now?
reforms. Certainly, if you are African American, if you're in the African American community, or black and brown, or actually just in this country, you don't have to be African American to be in favor of criminal justice reform, because you can see where something has got to be done about
Can
our
you hear
criminal
us
justice
now?
system. Whether you believe it or not, if someone is elected to be the top prosecutor in different states, call it different things. Some call it district attorney, some call it, So if you're elected by the people to be in that position because of your qualifications, because of your vision, because of your results, then you should be allowed to do that. But what black women see in those positions is just unprecedented attacks, death threats, challenges to their qualifications. Governors, as in the case of Georgia, in the case of Florida, with Miss Ayala, because of her position relative to the death penalty, she did not want to push the death penalty. The governor took the unusual step of circumventing her authority. And this is what you're seeing, just as you saw with Kim Foxx, where courts are stepping out there. And you're seeing their authority being circumvented, being challenged by the system. And that really, frankly, is inexcusable. There are many, many, many others who push a very, very even draconian conservative agenda, or even some who push more progressive agendas who are not black women who do not get challenged in this way. There are black women prosecutors, for instance, Rachel Rollins in Boston. She was the first elected black woman prosecutor. And she, in her case, before she even took office, before taking office, she had death threats and ethics charges were filed against her because of the position she took campaigning. That is unprecedented. Just imagine if it were okay, or just think about the ethics of filing charges against you to preclude you from practicing law, from being a prosecutor because of the position that you take. And certainly people do have the right to file ethics complaints. So I think what we see here happening, just to come full circle with Kim Foxx, is less about the Jussie Smollett case and more about her progressive agenda, more about a woman who's delivering results, more about someone who is popular, someone who has taken strong positions, who's not afraid to fight for a progressive agenda because she has made a determination that in her community, that's what's best. And so much less to do with one case.
Well, just in your closing thoughts, what should we be looking out for? Because you've mentioned all of these prosecutors from all around the country, these black women who ran, for the most part, on criminal justice reform. They come from our community, and we're especially proud of Kim Foxx because, this is someone who grew up with a lot of family love, but without a lot of economic advantages. Not that anyone just has some skate into success. You have to work hard no matter what. That having been said, what she ran on, she has actually instituted as the Cook County State's Attorney. And I have to tell you, I'm tired of seeing people's records marred, their life options really bent out of shape because of a bad moment or because of something. We sell marijuana in one part of the country, you go to jail. In another part of the country, you set up a business. Attorney Hoffler, what are we supposed to do here? It's true. Come on, it's true.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And there are a lot of inconsistencies. I think what we have to be very careful about is when we are critical of black prosecutors in general and black women prosecutors. Because if those prosecutors were not in place pushing for criminal justice reform, this country would be further back and we'd be seeing more and more devastating statistics of injustices and inconsistencies in how punishments, if you will, in different states are enforced. So I think that we have to be very, very careful when we look at someone who's eminently qualified, who's done what she said she was going to do, has benefited the community, is from the community, and who has widespread support, and we want to oust her because of the fact that she has, or not reelect her because of the fact she has a progressive agenda, That is setting this country, that's an example of setting this country backwards, as opposed to pushing the country forward. She should be able to stand for on her record. Judge her by her record. Judge her by what she's done. Judge her by the things she's committed to do. Has she fulfilled that? You know she has the qualifications. We know she's eminently qualified, and she's helping the community. And think about what we're saying. Prosecutors typically are the ones who put people away for doing certain crimes. When you have a prosecutor who is doing her job, yes, with those heinous crimes and all of that, and obeying the law, but also has compassion, has a vision of criminal justice reform, and is trying to make a difference, be very, very careful, I would submit to voters, by pushing someone like that aside, whose heart, I would submit, is in the right place, and who has the right to push criminal justice reform. Has the right to do that. There's so many inconsistencies in this country. You go to jail for 7 years for selling marijuana in one place, and like you said, Santita, you can set up a grow house and make a ton of money in another state, a neighboring state.
Go, wait a minute, you become an entrepreneur. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Actually, and rise to the top of the be on Forbes if that's what's coming next. It's a very, very, very lucrative business.
Okay, I'm like, come on, what is this? Maybe we should all move to Colorado. What do you think?
Actually, probably there's just so many businesses want to go in Colorado. We can't go into another state. Well, let me just say one thing. Living in a state where our primary was canceled, I feel robbed. But you all in right there who have the right to vote and are voting today in Illinois, please vote. Don't allow conservative forces to oust someone who is doing good in the community. Vote. Because I'm sitting here without the right to vote. That's how I feel. Because we can't seem to get it together.
You know what? I literally have 20 seconds. Literally. Please say that again. Are you all going to get? Are you going to have a primary? What's going to happen? 20 seconds.
I don't know. We're gonna have a primary in May. June, July, August, September, October, November. 5 months before the election in May. Please go out there. But I hope we have a primary. It is going to severely impact the process here in Georgia. But I got news for those who are trying to prevent people to vote. There are forces that are going to be out there, even with the coronavirus, to make sure that people have the right to vote. But certainly this is another roadblock to enabling people to vote. We have the ability to do it. Other states are doing it. Georgia's no exception. We have the same resources that other states have. We could have made sure that people could vote in a coronavirus era. This virus is going to be around for a long time. We can't stop our fundamental right to do things.
Absolutely. Look, hey, I agreed with President Trump for once, but broken clock can be right twice a day. He said, stop this. I don't know. Got to figure this out. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, President-elect, National Bar Association. God bless you. Coming up, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx on the Santita Jackson Show. Back in a minute. Now I can see that my microphone is gone. Oh, there's State's Attorney Foxx. You see, she's calling in.
That's just ready to call her once we get to break, and then it's like, oh,
there she is. She's right there.
Perfect timing.
You don't have to wait for amazing deals on your floor. Get spring Black Friday deals right now at Lumber Liquidators Flooring. This week, save up to 35% on gorgeous hardwood and waterproof vinyl floors. Plus, we can arrange for installation by professional independent contractors. And with special financing, you can get started today. These are the floors homes are built on. Lumber Liquidators Flooring.
30 years is a long time. I'm 30 and just had my first child. 30 years is also the difference in life expectancy between Inglewood, where I live, and the Mag Mile, because a broken Medicaid funding system favors some communities over others. Please call your state lawmakers and tell them to pass the Fair Funding for Community Hospitals bill, so all of us can get the care we need. I don't want my life cut short. I want to watch my kid grow up.
A message from SEIU Healthcare Illinois. You're listening to WCPT.
Okay, great.
On Chicago's north side, we have a fire reported this morning. This is northwest of where Sheriff Vernon Road meets Hollywood on Victoria Street. Allows some room for responders in.
This is Tom Hartman, and I want to thank the United Union of Roofers and Waterproofers Local 11 for sponsoring the Tom Hartman program on WCPT. They're celebrating their 100th anniversary, and I wish them another 100 years of building a strong middle class, protecting a living wage for workers, and making the world a better place through solidarity. Listen to me every day, weekdays 11 to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Oh.
Washington's north side of fire reported this morning. This is northwest of where
Oh no.
Hollywood on Victoria Street. Allows some room for responders in.
That's on them.
This is Tom Hartman, and I want to thank the United Union of Roofers and Waterproofers Local 11.
When you go to the mechanic in here,
Pass me the torque wrench. No, let me have the flamethrower.
that sounds wrong. You know what else sounds wrong? When you hear about the interest you're earning on your savings with the largest banks. But with the Marcus by Goldman Sachs online savings account, you could earn much more interest. And hear this. Open a Marcus by Goldman Sachs online savings account in minutes at marcus.com. You can money.
Comparison made to the three largest U.S. banks measured by total deposits. Rates as of February 4th, 2020 and may vary by state. Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC.
The family meeting. One of the things that
Hey, sweetie, ask her if she's available at 8:30, because I've got Kim Fox.
government to target segments of communities. We know that that's real. A precision drone strike can take out a neighborhood.
Okay, not at 8:30.
On the list of ones
Okay, so the only time she's available is 6:30. Okay, well then we're just going to miss her. Okay, call Patillo and see if he's available at 7. Okay, Patillo and Dwight McKee.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willow.
Okay, thanks.
As a former sharecropper, I know how it feels to be poor and taken advantage of. It's time
Oh.
that the citizens of the state of Illinois recognize the unfairness of slavery and set up a support structure for the descendants of slavery. I support.
Hey, send Brianna Gray. Ask her if she has a surrogate, or Congressman Khanna. Okay, I'll send him. I'll send him a text too. Okay, bye bye.
Let's hope and dream of a better future for the descendants of slavery. I'm Dr. Willow Wilson. The reparation bill provides promises for a better life. Let us begin where Abraham Lincoln and Congress left off in 1865 and start to make good on reparations. Since then, Congress has provided reparations for Native American Indians and for the Japanese American for their internment. Please call your local and state representative.
Paid for by drwillywilsonfoundation.org. WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. WCPT 820 in Chicago, Talk 101.7 FM in Milwaukee. Hello, Milwaukee. And Talk 92.7 in Madison, Wisconsin, and all around the country. We are streaming live on the Santita Jackson and Friends page on Facebook. Please like and share. And on the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Have someone with us today, very, very special guest. She was actually the perfect runway, Devin, was provided by the President-elect of the National Bar Association, Attorney C.K. Hoffler. That is the largest and oldest black bar association in the world. More than 66,000 lawyers she represents when she comes into office in July. We've got someone who has made headlines all across the country, indeed all across the world, for a whole lot of reasons. And for me, it's because she is doing what she said she would do, criminal justice reform. And I think that people from the right to the left, from President Trump to many people over here ideologically, on the left, agree that something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. People are having their records, their lives upended by prosecutions. You know, you can, like I said, you become a marijuana entrepreneur out west, you go to jail forever here. So, you know, there's something, you know, and then when people just, when they make mistakes in their youth, or they make one mistake, she says, you know what, we're going to do something else. And we're going to look at people who've been abused by the police, people who've abused their power, and who've abused others, who've abused citizens. We're going to make that right. We're going to bring on to this show right now Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Welcome to the show. She's facing re-election today, and she is up in the polls. Glad to say, how are you, State's Attorney Kim Foxx? Welcome back to the show.
Good morning. So glad to be back. Thank you for having me.
Oh, look, you know you have a home here. We're very, very excited to have you here. Let me just get right to it, because you know what? We hear about you. We hear about this case. I want to go right to you and ask you, what about this Jussie Smollett case? It has gotten so many people feeling some kind of way about this. What happened, and what was your intention? Why did you handle it the way that you did?
Yeah, we make thousands of decisions every day in the state's attorney's office, and I prioritize violent crime and the prosecution of violent crime in that office. When I came in 2016, we had over 760 murders in the city of Chicago, 4,000 people shot that year. And most of our prosecutorial resources weren't going towards guns and violence. They were going to nonviolent, low-level offenses that could have been dealt with outside of the criminal justice system. And that's what I said I was going to do. Starting in 2017, we said our default was going to be diversion for cases that didn't need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent. And I think a lot of what's happened around this particular case is that people have been used to seeing our justice system being overly punitive, seeing, people in this role, take the center stage on high-profile cases and feeding an angry mob. And while I didn't personally handle this case, I recused myself after talking to a family member who was concerned about Mr. Smollett as a victim. This case was handled in the way that we would handle other nonviolent, low-level offenses. And for some people, because they didn't see how we did it, didn't trust the outcome. And what I say to people, we inherited a criminal justice system, as you alluded to in your intro, that saw so many people, particularly African Americans and Latinos, wrongfully convicted, overly prosecuted, victims of police torture and brutality, that we were known as a national model for dysfunction. That the notion that the diversion of a low-level nonviolent offense somehow is in comparison to that is a frustration to people who've really been impacted by the justice system. But that's what happened. We prioritized violent crime, and nonviolent crime we felt we could deal with outside of the justice system.
It seems to me that is it something you're doing? Well, maybe not. I came across a very interesting article. State's Attorney, we're talking with State's Attorney, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, about her reelection. She's up in the polls today, and so we urge you all to get out and vote. And and I just have to ask you, what is going on with you black female prosecutors who have wanted to engage in criminal justice reform? I mean, Kim Gardner, the first black chief prosecutor in St. Louis, she's received letters calling her the N-word, the C-word. She's been called a menace by the police union. You've been attacked by the police union. Marilyn Mosby, who's a child of the police. She's from a family of police officers. Black chief prosecutor in Baltimore, who, of course, won in the wake of the death of Freddie Gray, the killing of Freddie Gray. She has gotten a lot of pushback, including from the police union. One caller even said they accused her of hating the police, and they said, if we'd known, quote, you were going to be this much effing trouble, we would have picked our own effing cotton. I mean, my goodness, what is this? I mean, I see a through line of the state's attorney, Kim Foxx, or maybe, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I'm missing something.
Oh, you don't have to be a lawyer for this one, Santita.
I'm just trying to figure it out.
No, it's the sad reality when you enter a field that largely doesn't look like you. 95% of elected prosecutors are white, 95%. Less than 1% are women of color. And, the African-American women prosecutors who do this work across the country, there are only about 18 of us. And what I can tell you is we have regular conversations about our work and how when we make a decision that people find that they don't agree with, right, even in the case that you mentioned, It's one thing to simply say I don't agree with the case, but the number of death threats that I and my family received, that there was a march by the leadership of the Fraternal Order of Police that was accompanied by 4 white nationalist groups outside of my office. The level of vitriol about a decision on a low-level felony, it speaks to what we endure as people who traditionally are in these roles. And, you name myself and Marilyn and Kim, but I can tell you about Rachel Rollins in Boston, Aramis Ayala, the first and only African-American state attorney in the entire state of Florida, who chose not to prosecute death penalty cases and received death threats such that she decided not to run for office again. And so I think we have to be mindful when we see the rhetoric, when we watch accounts of particularly me and my sister's records and how they are being portrayed, because there is an element there that we don't often talk about because we don't want to look like we're using race or gender in these conversations. But I can tell you that the through line is marked with a bright highlighter that we are treated differently in our everyday decision-making and discretion.
Well, I also want to highlight your backgrounds because we all function within the context of how we were raised. Thank you, Chris Rock. I mean, it must have been how you were raised, must have been what you've seen. And I would say that about Judge Judy, right? I would say Judge Greg Mathis. I mean, we all are shaped by our life experiences. And it's very interesting to me. Well, give us some of your background. What has shaped your philosophy as a prosecutor? What's behind your thinking?
I think you're right. It was how I was raised. I was raised by a single mom, a teenage mom, 17 when she had my brother, 18 when she had me. Obviously was not in a position to take care of 2 small children and herself, so we lived with my grandmother and my mother in Cabrini Green. And so I saw firsthand, the struggles of living in public housing, the lack of resources. I had family members who were shot, I had family members who have gone to prison. I had a mother who struggled to do well by her children, and a grandmother who was a praying grandmother, and had a compassionate empathy, unlike, that I had seen. My mother was very hardened by her experiences. And so I got kind of a street sensibility from my mother, a sense of compassion from my grandmother, and a reality that the world is very different. I left Cabrini and moved to Lincoln Park, and it was the tale of 2 cities. I was poor in both cities. It was,
okay, say that. Well, but how did poverty shape you then, too? I mean, you grew up as a woman. You grew up, and I feel like I'm talking about The Color Purple here, the state's attorney, Kim Fox. I mean, you grew up a woman, you grew up black, you grew up poor. How has that shaped you too? I think it's important for people to hear that because we're all shaped by our experiences, including your opponent. I'm not slamming anyone, but he grew up as the son of a billionaire, which I'm sure has shaped his worldview, not negatively necessarily, but we're all shaped by what we've seen, what we've felt, and how we felt.
Yeah, I mean, it shaped me in the sense that, my mother was one of the most brilliant people that I'd ever met. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was an incredible writer, but here were these women who lived in poverty whose potential wasn't being met, right? They didn't have the resources and things that they could use to be able to live to their fullest potential. And in fact, the expectations were different. And that's what I grew up with, having been very poor, then went to a school that had some measure of affluence and saw how people treated poor people. They didn't think we were just as smart, didn't think we were just as capable, weren't given, opportunities to be able to grow. And so in this role as a prosecutor, when I see people who look very much like me, have very much the same experience, what I know is that they have the potential for so much more. That I don't see them as either, black or white, good or bad. It's not binary. I know good people who have, in the course of trying to make it, done bad things. Mm-hmm. And I know bad, people who we would consider bad people, who have helped others, You know, the person who was in the gang who made sure that I made it to and fro to school okay, you know, would tell people back off, they're walking. Who you would look at that person and think, well, there's no good in them. And so it's given me a really deep reflection on what would happen if we had an equitable society and treated everyone in every neighborhood as though they had the potential for greatness. Because how does someone like me be the first black woman state's attorney coming from Cabrini? That was opportunity. But how much opportunity are you losing in Roseland, Inglewood, Lawndale, when we're okay with poor neighborhoods and their young suffering?
We're talking with Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. She's up for re-election today, in the primary. Call us at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. Because, it's very interesting. You grew up in Cabrini Green, so, of course, you've seen drug raids. But you also went to college where you did not see drug raids, and you saw drug use in both places, or at least you heard about it. So it seems to me you're seeing how different people are treated differently, yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the part where many people who are not impacted by the justice system don't see, right? And everyone is connected to it. When I was in high school, I knew a lot of young kids who came from affluent households who did drugs, who drank alcohol, who, broke into people's garages and stole beer. But these were kids who were getting accepted into the University of Michigan, some into Harvard, and their parents, wrapped their arms around them and, not my kid, and they were allowed to move on. And you see other kids in the same neighborhood doing similar things, smoking marijuana, and catching a record. And now they're trying to apply for a job at the Park District, and they can't. And the way that the system then treats you inhibits you for years and years to come. But our selective enforcement of policies, particularly ones that have a disproportionate impact on Black people and brown people, we have to understand this is not about enforcement of public safety. It is where we value the people in our community. And I watched it firsthand. I again, living a dual life of knowing what poverty and its impacts were, and then living in another world where I saw people do the exact same things. And we're given opportunities to learn and grow from them. And that's what I believe, prosecutors should be able to do, is give everyone the same opportunity to learn and overcome from their mistakes.
So the privilege that we see extended to Wall Street, you want to bring it to Main Street and to the streets that have no name.
That's right. That's right. And I think we're better for it. I think we're absolutely better for it when we have a system where people can grow from things, like reach their natural development, particularly those who've had the least among us. I just think we lose out on so much talent when we assume that only the privileged and affluent have something to offer. And it's why I talk about my background so much. I am living proof of what is possible if we give those opportunities, because talent is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. The opportunity is not. And the justice system is the one place where we can absolutely cut off opportunity for generations if we are punitive in our approach or overly oppressive with the use of prosecutorial power.
So you see an opportunity once you have elective office, once you become, basically an officer of the state. You see an opportunity. I guess you see the genius of the founders of the Republic. They left space for the reshaping, the perfecting of our union. Yes?
That's right. It's not just that, it's the responsibility, right? That things change over time. Back in the 70s and 80s, when there was this vicious war on drugs that ravaged communities, particularly Black and brown communities, with arrests and over prosecutions, many homes were broken. To now in 2020, there's a conversation around the public health issues related to drug use, and we shouldn't try to incarcerate our way out of this. And now marijuana is illegal. And there was a real impact in those 40 years where we took that approach. But we have to be able to evolve. We have to be able to recognize that when we are wrong, to acknowledge it, and then actively work to fix it. And I think we don't wait for other people to do that. I think I have an affirmative responsibility as an elected leader to call out that which is wrong and harmful and actively work to fix it. That is a responsibility, not just an opportunity, but we must do that.
When people say that you're soft on crime, please respond, because you grew up. I would say, having grown up in Cabrini Green, almost in a police state, right? I mean, so you had to see. I mean, because poor people are heavily policed. I don't even think, if you didn't grow up there, if you haven't seen it, we don't really understand that. Or do I have a misunderstanding?
No, I mean, people say I'm soft on crime, and I counter with this, I'm smart on crime. The reality is, when I lived in Cabrini, we had a ritual that when people would start shooting, my grandmother would usher us into the bathtub and tell us to lay down, because the conventional wisdom was that bullets didn't pierce porcelain. And, having lived like that, I'm decades removed from Cabrini, there's still a PTSD that comes with when I hear loud sounds, and having lived in a violent neighborhood. So violence is absolutely my top priority. There should not be children sheltering in place throughout this city. And that's why I said, when I came into office, when we had such a horribly violent year, what was disturbing to me was that we weren't spending our resources going after violent crime. We were doing things like going after the lowest level felonies, people driving on suspended licenses because they couldn't pay their tickets. Low-level retail theft, because it's one of the lowest thresholds for a felony in the country. We were spending more of our resources going after that than we were going after violent crime. And that, to me, I could not look people in the eye and say that that was okay. And so we've shifted our priorities. It's not about being soft. It's about being smart. Violent crime had gone down year after year for the first 3 years that I've been in office, because we stopped doing certain things and put our attention on our gun crime strategies unit, where we were putting lawyers in the neighborhoods to fight violent crime alongside law enforcement. And we've seen a difference. But we have to disabuse ourselves of the notion that being tough is the answer. We have to be smart and strategic with our resources.
What do you want voters to know today?
I want voters to know that this race is incredibly important. I recognize all of the fear and concerns, and we want people to be safe as they're out there voting in the wake of COVID-19. But realizing that the results today have long-reaching impacts. We've been able to achieve a lot of work in the last 3.5 years, expunging records, vacating wrongful convictions, the gun crime strategies unit, taking our trump, because we had an innovative leadership model. We can't afford to go back to the false confession capital of the United States, to spending our time going after low-level offenses and not attacking violence, to a criminal justice system that disproportionately impacted negatively Black and brown communities. That's literally what's on the line today. Do we have forward momentum in leading the country on justice reform, or do we go back to the criminal justice system that we don't deserve? And so I need people to get out there, to not be focused on one case, because that is the distraction that they want. My opponent spent almost $11 million trying to only talk about one case, to not talk about the hundreds of thousands of records who are going to be expunged from Rome, to not talk about wrongful convictions. And so we have to be bigger, smarter, more thoughtful. Hold me accountable, but don't let us go backwards. And I think if you hold me accountable, you'll give me 4 more years.
Well, before you go, absolutely. I have someone who is one of your sisters-in-law, if you will, one of your colleagues-in-law, Attorney C.K. Hoffler. She's the president-elect of the National Bar Association, the largest, oldest Black bar association. I don't need to tell you that, State's Attorney Kim Foxx, in the world, more than 66,000 lawyers. And I just wanted her to give you a word of encouragement, because a lot of people, myself included, I am biased. I'm not perfect, everybody. I am pulling for you today because, I've seen people in the system. I've seen people make mistakes. And, people, we need to give, if you're going to give, we need to give people all over town. We need to give people all over town a second chance, not just look at a third strike. But Devin, let's bring up Attorney C.K. Hoffler. And oh, she's already gone. Okay, well, you know what, she had spoken of you, um, in such a complimentary way, uh, before you came on the air. And I just want you to know that a lot of people are pulling for you because we need criminal justice reform. You know, we lived through John Burge. And like I said, we've been to college, and you know people use drugs in college. And then they go on to run the world, but you never hear about that anymore. I mean, and we don't have drug grades in college. Have you ever heard of such a thing? you know, you know, you know that doesn't happen, and it could easily happen. And so, I hope that people will get out and vote today. But we understand that there's a shortage of judges. We're talking with State's Attorney Kim Foxx, and so, what can we do if we, you know, because people are panic about COVID-19 and about this, the coronavirus scare. And people are now, you said something, you talked about sheltering in place. You know something about that already. Now everybody else is feeling what you felt growing up as a child, sadly. Um, Give us a word before we go about voting, about the importance of voting, even as many of us are almost frozen in place because we're scared today.
Listen, I understand, and we want to make sure that people are safe. People's personal health, safety, and welfare is our top priority. But there are precautions that people can take. You know, make sure that we're washing our hands. There's hand sanitizers that are going to be at each polling place. My understanding that they have distancing for people in line so that people don't have to bunch together. What I would tell people is, as a reminder, is that voting is a power and a privilege. And we don't want that power to be in the hands of just a few who decided to venture out, that will have long-lasting impacts on our democracy, both at the local level and nationally. And so while we are afraid, you know, bravery is, you know, being afraid and doing something anyway. I think this moment calls for us to be brave, prepared and cautious, but brave. Because we cannot afford to give our votes away, particularly at this time in our democracy. As chaotic as things feel, this is when we need to have the power in the people's hands the most. So I would encourage everyone to get out there today and vote.
State's Attorney, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, thank you so much for being with us. And you know, this is your home here. I hope that you come back and talk about all of the great work that you're doing, because you know we need some compassion. We are a better people for it. State's Attorney Kim Foxx, thank you for being with us today.
Always. Thank you, Santita.
And well, my prayers. I don't believe in luck. I'm praying for you today. That
I received that. Thank you.
Look, you've got a praying grandmama. You understand that. And she would chastise you, young lady, for looking at luck when you know you need to be praying. God bless you, State's Attorney, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Wishing her the best today as she runs for re-election. We're not going to have Nina Turner in the second hour, but we want to talk with you about sheltering in place and so much. Back in just a moment.
We actually have Nina Turner on the phone, though. Nina Turner called in, though.
Do you have a house or two flat you'd like to
so
sell
we're not going to
quickly?
have her. She called in.
Is she there right now?
Yeah. Or is she cancel on the 8:30? Is that what she called in earlier?
Yeah, I didn't know. No, I didn't know she called.
That's why she called in earlier.
Is she there right now?
Yeah, she's on there right now.
Okay.
We just lost her.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know.
Okay.
Okay, no, hon. I'm sorry, I missed that. Let me call her, because let me call Nina and let me just apologize to her, because I certainly would have. Cause okay, let me call and just apologize, because I didn't. Because I was trying to see, because I agreed to do Kim Foxx 101. Yes, sweetie, I am so sorry. I didn't even. Baby, I am so sorry, because I couldn't see you on the screen. And I had you scheduled for 7, and I had Kim Foxx scheduled for 6:30. I am so sorry, and I just got the message that you had to switch the time, that you're not available. I am so sorry.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
I had no idea, and I apologize for that. Because I can't really see the screen. I didn't have my glasses on. Yeah. No. I am. Well, no, I would never want to do that. And please understand. Yeah, I will deal with that. Yeah, and because I wouldn't have brought you all on because I didn't make that agreement with her. Um, yeah, I yeah, because I thought Attorney C.K. Hoffler was there because she had been on, so I had no idea that you were there. Okay, well, you know what? Call back at some point and we'll just get you on so you can have people vote. Okay, I'll bring you on at the top, and I'll just give you the floor. Okay? And please accept my apologies again. No, still, even with that, okay? So let me do that, okay? All right, hon. Bye bye. Okay, next time just let me know that because I couldn't read the screen, and so I didn't know that she was there.
Yeah, I apologize for
N-
that too.
Devin, it's okay, babe. No, nothing's perfect. No one's perfect. If we were perfect, this is how we learn. Don't. It's okay. This is how we learn. I've made enough mistakes in my life to just go, okay, now I know how to do that. And I mean, and that's how we learn. So just it's okay. So don't go, oh, please don't do that. Don't
I
do
already
that.
kicked myself once. We're good.
Don't do that. Don't do that. You mean because you mean it's you're trying to manage. You're like, okay, I've got the state's attorney here. This is a big race. She's talking and she's talking, and then I've got she's calling back. So I'm going to bring her on at the top. I'm going to skip my headline. So bring her on. Just bring her on because I'm going to skip the headlines. Okay.
He's got it right there. He beat me.
Okay. Good. And so I'm just going to bring her on. I'm going to skip my headlines
Okay.
and go right to her. Okay. Okay. So just let's just move on and let's be done with that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, babe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No worries. Oh.
Amazon says it needs to hire 100,000 people across the country to keep up with the crush of orders as the coronavirus spreads and keeps more people at home and shopping online. Amazon says it will temporarily raise pay by $2 an hour. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive.
Okay. Oh boy. All right, everybody. Nina Turner is going to be on, but she's running into a phone call. But she's going to be on for like 4 or 5, but maybe about 8 or 9 minutes to talk about the election. How about that? And so Michael and Chapearl and everybody else who've called in, I'm going to come to you as soon as we wrap things up with Nina Turner. Boo boo boo. That was good. Ooh.
Demand for top talent is at an all-time high, but you can't afford to miss important deadlines. Whether you need help for a day, a week, or months, keep your work on track with highly skilled accounting and finance professionals from Accountemps. Accountemps, a Robert Half company.
30 years is a
Oh.
long time. I'm 30 and just had my first child. 30 years is also the difference in life expectancy between Inglewood, where I live, and the Mag Mile, because a broken Medicaid funding system favors some communities over others. Please call your state lawmakers and tell them to pass the Fair Funding for Community Hospitals bill so all of us can get the care we need. I don't want my life cut short. I want to watch my kid grow up.
And this is from SEIU Healthcare Illinois.
WCPT is proud to support labor unions and the hardworking middle class. Join me as I welcome respected labor leaders to the Joan Esposito Show each week for our Union Strong segment.
Okay.
We'll get their perspective on current events, local and national politics, and how labor unions are more relevant today than ever. Thank you to our valued labor.
See, doctors facing a growing number of cases in hospitals. Of course, there now people are presenting themselves as people of coronavirus patients. Everybody, as they continue to add up the numbers, put that in context, okay? Doctors were not looking for the coronavirus a month ago, 2 months ago. They weren't, and it's been here at least since December of 2019. So as we're watching the numbers add up, just put it in that context. Now we're recognizing the coronavirus. It's not spreading like the contagion necessarily. Okay? All right, everybody. So let's get right to it.
The Tom Hartman radio program provides all the intelligence, information, and insight you'll need to win the water cooler wars.
Okay, lock her in.
Right here on WCPT 820.
Okay.
Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Wake up, Chicago. This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, 773-763-WCPT. And, of course, welcome back to Chicago, WCPT 820, and Milwaukee, Talk 101.7 FM, and Madison, Talk 92.7 FM, and other cities all around the country. We're so glad that you're with us. You know what? As we were going out on the last break, I said Nina Turner's not here. Former state senator from Ohio. Nina Turner actually is here. We're catching her in between a lot of things as we get prepared for the Illinois primary and the Ohio primary that has been suspended. My dear sister Nina Turner, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jay. It's such a pleasure and an honor to join you this morning. I really enjoyed your segment with the one and only great A.G. Fox. She did her thing.
She did do her thing. And you're doing your thing with the Sanders campaign. Tell me, what are things looking like? We're seeing that Vice President Biden has a lead in Illinois, but as Senator Sanders has said, he's been winning the ideological debate. He's been winning the ideological war, if you will. It reminds me of the Jackson campaign. People would say, well, he can't win, but, I'd love to vote for you. What is going on here?
I know the irony of it. Yes, every single state, whether the senator won or not, where exit polls have been taken on the issue, Senator Sanders is certainly winning. And especially in light of the coronavirus, we certainly understand more deeply, if for those who didn't understand it, they understand it now, how vulnerable our healthcare system is and why it is so vitally important that we ensure in this country that everybody has healthcare and that healthcare is not tied to a job. We see so many people being laid off right now. Some businesses are going out of business. And the fact that in the United States of America, healthcare is tied to your job is unseemly in the 21st century. It is immoral in the 21st century. And thank God that Senator Bernie Sanders had a vision towards this for a very long time. It didn't take a pandemic to inform him that our healthcare system, even the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made this analysis, is cruel.
What has shaped his thinking? What is, because he's a very broad guy. Many people do not know that there were only 2 white elected officials in all of the United States who endorsed Reverend Jackson in 1983. And he was one of those persons. He's a different kind of guy. He's really outside the box. Who is he?
He really is. And I want to give a shout out to Jim Hightower, because that's the other white official that you're talking about from the great state of Texas. And he actually lost his race on the second time that he ran because of that endorsement. I want people to wrap their minds around that.
Absolutely. And then he came back and was the chair of our campaign behind that.
Yes, he was. You can't keep Hightower down, baby. You can't.
I know.
About that his reward, I put in air quotes, that people were so racist, and that's what it was, and vicious, that they would hold that against him, something that was so wonderful, the courage that your father exhibited to run and continues to exhibit is a beautiful thing. When Reverend endorsed Senator Sanders, thought about that as being the reunion of the Rainbow Coalition in many, many ways. Both your father and Senator Bernie Sanders have so much in common in terms of their righteous indignation to speak out against wrong, to go against the status quo, to push back against systems that do not lift. And so Senator Sanders, just rooted in that. His father came to this country, I believe he was 17 years old, and he's an immigrant. He was an immigrant. And his father's family was exterminated during the Holocaust. So Senator Sanders and his brother, in many ways, are a miracle. And the fact that he was nurtured in Brooklyn in a neighborhood with so many Jewish elders who the senator talks about had those stamps on their bodies, from being in having to endure the Holocaust. And when the senator tells the story about going back there and looking and having that feeling and looking into the graves that many of them had to dig, it just makes your heart quicken. So Senator comes from a tradition of justice, of people who understand what it means to not only be vilified verbally, but to flat out have your life taken. So he is a miracle, and what birthed him and what motivates him is that of justice.
Well, and speaking of that, he endorsed Kim Foxx. Why did he do that? This controversial man, girl, you got to sit him down. Come on now.
Well, you and him get a chance to have this chat, but he knows what justice looks like, and the senator is really over the over-criminalization of people in the system. He does know that there are disparities within the disparities, that the black community has always been and continues to be the hardest hit by unjust laws. And so he wants to see progressive people elected all over this country and in every position in this country. And so it is a beautiful thing that he endorsed the Honorable Kim Foxx.
Very quickly, you are the former state senator, but I always call you state senator because you keep those titles, state senator, Ohio state senator. Oh, to me, state senator. Nina Turner, your election, the primary, has been suspended in Ohio for today. What do you think about that? Even President Trump said, I don't think we should be doing that. What is your position on that?
Well, we definitely not going to use President Trump as any guide at any time.
Well, not a guide, but I'd be look. If I were talking to him today, I'd want to know what he sees because I'm getting uncomfortable with the talk of no convention. They've been suspending primaries on the Republican side. It's just there's what help me.
I'm uncomfortable too about this. I listen. The lead doctor in our state said that it was unsafe, so I'm going to listen to her. I'm going to listen to what the doctor had to say about this. So we all need to check ourselves. For our campaign, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't, because people, whatever we say, people will accuse us as using this situation as a political football. I think that the opposite is true, in that you have to care about people. And so what is the best, highest order? What is the best thing to do in light of this virus, this pandemic, and the pain that it can inflict on folks? So I'm going to take my lead from the doctor. And the lead doctor who works for the state of Ohio, said very clearly that this is dangerous, that it puts people in danger. And so she exercised her authority to say that we should not have any primaries in the state of Ohio at this time. And then the Ohio Supreme Court agreed. And here we are. So I'm taking the lead from the doctor. And I am worried, Santita, about people all over this country. Whether it was an election year or not, people need to question, do people really care about them, or do they just care about this election? There's some shady stuff going on right now. And there can leave no doubt that this pandemic is serious. The CDC has said that it's serious. Every health professional has said that this is serious. And so what should we be doing as a nation? That is the question that we should ask. There were so many people hurting, Santita, so many people who will not be able to get the health care that they need and that they deserve. This moment gives us the opportunity to critically think, and not just think with our heads, but to think with our hearts. And if we were a heart-thinking people, we would all have to acknowledge, even if we didn't believe in Medicare for all before this moment, that Medicare for All right now in this moment gives us the opportunity to change systems, to save lives, and to do a new thing in the United States of America.
Before you go, where does this passion come from? You feel all of this so deeply. Where does this come from?
It comes from my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who's no longer in this plane of existence. I know she raised in all kinds of hell and heaven. And my mother, and of course you, being the daughter of not only a preacher, but just a flat-out freedom fighter. My mother was a preacher, too. So a lot of the way that I feel and think certainly comes from the Black church, and it's so wonderful to be on a show with somebody who understands that in a very deep way, not a superficial way. The Black church made me who I am today. My grandmother, my mother, my parents, my father as well. Even though my parents got divorced when I was very young, and so my mother was the custodial parent. But, you will know the tree by the fruit that it bears.
Amen.
God, that I was raised in a church-going home, and that my mother was a preacher, and that my grandmother was a praying woman, a woman that had motherhood. She didn't have a whole lot of education. Born in 1915, was robbed like many women of her generation, but she was a strong, fierce fighter, and I get that from her. So thank God for Grandma, thank God for Mama, and thank God for the Black church.
And thank God for you and your passion for justice, your passion for people. I just thank God that you're being used in such a magnificent way, and more than that, that you're available to be used. Your final word.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I just want people to be encouraged that we are not motivated by our fear, but by our fierceness, that people stay safe, that we look out for our elders and our children, that we know that nothing is too hard for God, and that we will overcome this moment. I know it is really heavy. It is heavy in material ways for people who are losing their jobs right now, people who don't have health care, people who are fearful about the future. This is a heavy moment psychologically. It is a heavy moment physically. It is a heavy moment socially and economically. But we will overcome this moment. And for people of faith, let our faith be big enough to lift people who may not necessarily believe the way that we believe. But I know that we serve a God that's bigger than any pandemic, and we will endure. So God bless everybody. SJ, thank you for your work and what you're doing. We're gonna overcome this.
Thank you, Nina Turner. Senator Turner, my girl. I cannot even fake that. I love you too. The smiles. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I just have to call her and say, "What was that?" How about that? There you go.
I like you. Thanks, SJ.
Oh, love you so much, and can't wait to have you back on the show. Blessings to you.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, and thank you for holding. And because they have endorsed State's Attorney, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, the Sanders campaign. So call me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. We're going to get Attorney Robert Patillo up in just a moment to talk to us about so much that's going on. The Ohio primary has been suspended today. How do you feel about that? What do you think about San Francisco being on lockdown? Are we next? I mean, when I say lockdown, people are not allowed to leave their homes. You must shelter in place. That's what Kim Foxx talked about when she lived in Cabrini Green, sheltering in place. Now we all know what that feels like because there's danger outside, right? We shouldn't panic. Wash your hands. Gargle with Listerine, or in my case, Dr. Tishner's. It's 70% alcohol, everybody. And just really take care of yourself. Get your rest. Get some exercise. Even if you walk in place at home, these are the things that we have to do so that we can lead healthful lives. There's some things that we can do. And remember, some people self-resolve with the coronavirus. That is to say, they come through this flu virus like a lot of people do with the flu. And some people take the medicine. More than 50,000 people out of the 90+ thousand people who've had it, they've survived. So it's not a death sentence, everybody. Let's really empower each other. So let me go to the phone lines. Michael O'Connor, how you doing?
Hi, I am fine. How are you?
It's wonderful hearing your voice today.
Yeah, it's wonderful to be heard today. It took me a while to get back into things, but I want you to know I've been listening to you every day, and it's a good thing to hear your voice and your topics. I want you to know Shapiro had me jumping up and down yesterday morning when she was talking about that situation. I want to just give her a shout out. I am sheltered in place because I have five underlying health conditions that I know that I've already went grocery shopping. I already early voted, which reminds me, you just had Kim Fox on, but Kim Fox didn't say her number. Her number is 141. Please, everybody, punch 141 for State's Attorney Kim Fox, because I grew up down the street from John Burge's House of Terror. I literally watched how young black men like myself were dragged by the police into custody when the Wilson brothers killed somebody up there in the beauty salon, and black boys were targeted. My younger brother was in an army uniform, and he was taken in. So clearly, depending upon where you live will determine how you receive or what type of public resources you receive. The police are public resources. They simply charge. It is the attorney's office that does the prosecution. And here in Cook County, until Kim Fox came along, the majority of individuals, almost 90% of the prosecutors that are in that office, don't look like the communities that they charge. They're usually white males who are from Mount Greenwood and a couple of other neighborhoods that I can name off, but I know I don't have a lot of time to talk. So if you want to deal with not having a tale of two cities, but just one city, please punch 141 for State's Attorney Kim Fox so that we can have one in Chicago. And if we're going to shelter down like we have to shelter down, I believe people need to believe in science. I'm not taking no chances because I want to be here. And that's my comment. Y'all have a good day.
Blessings to you, Michael O'Connor. Let me go to Chaparral. Chaparral, always on fire. I think that's what we need to give her a new name, right? Miss Fira.
Hey, Peter, thank you so much.
Fira. Remember Elvira? That's right. Fira. That's it. What's on your mind today?
And tell Michael I'm sending him some light and love because we're going to get through this here. And I know he's also hurting from Mark Loveless, who we all love.
Absolutely. Even as Mark drove us crazy, what would he be saying today? Oh, you know he's getting a good giggle in heaven.
Let's go vote for Biden. Let's go vote.
That was one of the last things he said, Chaparral. He said, oh, you know what? Okay, I've gone from Bloomberg. You know, I could do Biden. And we almost jumped on his back.
The day before he passed away, I had talked to him that morning, and I had told him, we're talking on Santita about this because you're not going to vote for Biden. He's like, oh, don't beat me up, Shapiro. I said, we're going to talk about this in the morning. I will talk to you tomorrow.
Well, you know, now he's talking to us right now. How about that?
Yes. Santita, I'm calling to tell you about Cook County. Cook County is going through it right now after the election. My mom is working the polling place. I decided not to work. I usually work the polling places every election, but I decided because I knew it was going to be chaotic. Cook County is down 900 election judges. Some polling places are still not up and running.
Wait, slow down. Some polling places are not what?
They're not up and running because the election judges have not even shown up to work this election. I told you they were down 900 election judges. So we have some precincts without any judges, without any equipment managers there to help to process the votes. So my friend Cheryl Rainey, she just said that because her precinct was not open, I mean, it's open, it's people there, but the machines aren't working, they're not set up, so they can't vote. So they've been told to come back. And then we have, my mother is in Cicero, and she's in precinct 27. Nobody from precinct 27 came to show up because it's like 3 precincts in the gym where they're at. So they're taking people from her in order to put over there. So she's telling me that right now the system is very chaotic. They're doing paper ballots. Nobody's doing electronic where she is because, because of the COVID virus, they were supposed to wipe down the machines after every voter and everything like that. They have no sanitation supplies at the precinct. So I don't know what's happening in Cook County, but I don't project this is going to have a lot of large numbers because the system itself is collapsing right in front of our eyes. And I think that we need to get, the Board of Elections on so they can talk about this because how is this going to be taking care of the vote if we have people who are being sent away from voting because the polling places aren't open? They're supposed to be up and ready to go by 6 a.m. And we need to, I want to get this out to Kim Fox and all of the people, Bernie's people, to let them know, hey, y'all need to start getting your people to these polling places because we may need to extend the closing time because of what's going on. But I also heard that Cook County is consolidating last minute because of the shortage of polling places that have staff. So your polling place may actually also be changed because of the fact of the shortness of staff. Cook County knew that this problem was happening way before this election.
But hold on. Remember, before the coronavirus, it was already projected that in November we're supposed to have more voters than have voted since 1908 in terms of the percentage. And the system and the fear from Dr. Michael McDonald out of the University of Florida, he tracks these election numbers with tremendous accuracy. His fear was, or his data showed that we got a problem. We're not prepared to have people vote. I got less than a minute, Chappelle. What do you want people to know?
I still think it's important that you exercise your right to vote. I think that if you have to stay in line, if you have to call the county board to tell them, hey, we're having problems at this precinct, you have to do it. I mean, this election is so crucial for Americans so that way we can definitely find people that work for us. So I think we still have to get out there and vote and just pray for the election judges and the workers. I might be forced to go out here even though I don't want to, but I have 6 kids. I can't even leave right now because everybody's home. But
you know what, everybody. Well, you know what? People call 1-866-OUR-VOTE, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. If you are having problems at your precinct, call 1-866-OUR-VOTE or call Rainbow Push 773-FREEDOM so that you can report the problem. Thank you, Chappelle. Back in just a moment. That is a mess.
This is WCPT 820, where you can hear the Stephanie Miller Show every weekday, 8 to 11 a.m., because facts matter.
This is Louis Geyer from GWC Injury Lawyers. Now that cannabis is legal in Illinois, an understanding of the law and the risks associated with ingesting cannabis is critically important. Under the Cannabis Act, you can legally ingest marijuana only in a very limited number of places. Not in public, not on government or school premises, and not even in your own condo or apartment if your landlord has a no-smoking policy. A positive test is potentially lethal to your rights in 3 key areas: employment, work injuries, and driving. So if your employer has a zero-tolerance drug and alcohol policy, you can be terminated if you fail a drug test, even though your cannabis consumption was legal. If you're hurt on the job and test positive for cannabis, the legal presumption is that your accident was caused in part because of the cannabis, and your workers' compensation rights can be totally denied. DUI laws have not changed. Impaired means impaired, and a DUI due to cannabis or alcohol can ruin your career. If you want want to indulge in legal THC before you ingest, read up on your rights at gwclaw.com.
My name is Ruth Rusi. I volunteer with United Way, reading to children to help prepare them for a better academic future. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
In Libertyville, southbound 21 is blocked at 137 due to a crash. In Hinsdale, there's a collision on Ogden at Adams. Eastbound Reagan Tollway, the exit to Midwest Road is blocked right now. The rollover semi. Traffic is light on the other tollways. On the expressways, it's fairly light too. We see no delays on the Eden. Kennedy still looks good as well. On Eisenhower, it's heavy western to the Burnster. 31 minutes, 390 to downtown. An earlier medical emergency near Addison Road, that storm. North on I-55, this road work delays, River Road collage. Farther north, it's congested in Cicero and the Rhine. The other expressways and tollways are light. That's traffic. I'm Jim Alamonte.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on
Peter's for Bernie.
quality candidate within the
Okay.
first day.
He said it's not a joke.
For free at
No, I mean, but people went from Trump to Bernie, Bernie to Trump. But he'll take a bend because he likes doing that. But that's cool. I mean, look, no, I appreciate that. But you.
My feet's always in caps.
In caps, okay? If you could, you'd italicize them and put them in bold print. Oh my God. Oh my goodness, so. Oh my gosh. Oh, voting today. Goodness gracious. Typically, I vote early, everybody, and I did not this time. Oh, Lord, give me strength. Because I'm going to vote.
And now, WCPT listeners can get $25 off their first bill at myheropower.com/WCPT. It takes just 2 minutes. Join now at myheropower.com/WCPT.
Try your new favorite today. You up for this?
Participating ladies. This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, streaming live on Facebook on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. And please like and share, like and share, like and share. And we are streaming live on YouTube on the Santita Jackson Show. Please like and subscribe. Everybody, we're coming to you from Milwaukee, Talk 101.7 FM. And Madison, Talk 92.7 FM, and Chicago, WCPT 820, and all around the country. We want to hear from you. It's primary day in Illinois, and it would have been primary day in Ohio. But there was a tremendous back and forth about whether they were going to have the vote today because of the coronavirus pandemic. And it just went back and forth, and then finally the governor said, no, we're not going to have it today out of an abundance of caution. What do you think about that, everybody? I want to know, are you comfortable with this? I mean, a lot of us, you go to the grocery store, you can't find different items. You can't find toilet tissue. You can't find toothpaste and things like that. That's interesting. But you can't find toilet tissue and a lot of staples. A lot of people are really panicked and they're hoarding. What do you think about that? I mean, how is this going to impact the election now? We're delaying primaries. Are you comfortable with that? Now we're saying we might not have a Democratic convention. Now. This is a new reality. And so, Attorney Robert Patillo got everybody all wound up yesterday when he said, look, Bernie and Biden need to go in a room and work it out, and let's just get on to this election in the fall. Dwight McKee said, I'm really surprised that you would say that. Yes, I got these two guys back as we're talking about the election. How you doing, Dwight McKee and Attorney Robert Patillo? It's wonderful to be with you this morning.
Fine. Wonderful to be with you.
Oh, you all are a lot. I just love you so much. Dwight, we are down more than 900 judges in Cook County alone. And as Chaparral just reported, and I have no reason to disbelieve her. In fact, I do believe her. Because a lot of people are, I guess this is letting me know that a lot of people might be too frightened to vote today. What do you think is happening?
Go ahead, Robert.
Robert, what do you think is happening in Cook County?
Well, what I think is happening is trying to manage a very large endeavor, such as a primary election, while you have a nation whose attention isn't on it. And this is mainly going to affect low-income people who maybe have children at home from school who won't be able to stay in line as long as normal. It'll affect transportation. Many Uber drivers have stopped driving because of the outbreak. There's been reductions in public transportation nationwide. I know that happened here in Atlanta. They've limited the number of bus routes available. Poll workers. All of us know that normally when you go to the polls, you're greeted by a very sweet elderly woman who's the poll worker. And the fact that elderly people are being told unquestioningly to stay home and not be involved in public life puts a strain on that. In addition, people simply put, this early on in the outbreak have other priorities. Me and my wife spent about 2 hours yesterday trying to find toilet papers and other goods for the home just in case, out of an abundance of caution. And so I do think there will be massive disruptions nationwide to the elections, in addition to the lack of communication from our leaders. We have Ohio, which is going back and forth over whether or not there will be a primary. I believe the public isn't fully informed as to whether or not there is still elections here nationwide, and the rules surrounding that, because we haven't gotten clear messaging from our leadership. So I think there will be electoral issues throughout the nation today, and I worry that we won't have full confidence in the results to come out.
Well, do we have any? Is there anything we can do? I gave out the number 1-866-OUR-VOTE, 1-866-OUR-VOTE. These are lawyers who've been gathered from all around the country to attend to our issues right there, Johnny, on the spot. Shouldn't we insist, Robert, that once people get in line to vote that they not leave the precinct?
Absolutely. Once you're in line, practice proper social distancing, bring your gloves, bring your hand sanitizer. I know earlier there were reports not to wear masks. You should definitely wear a mask. The World Health Organization announced last night that clouds of COVID-19 can remain in the air. So while it's not exactly airborne currently, if somebody sneezes in front of you or in your general area, you are able to inhale it. So out of an abundance of caution, if you can wear a mask, wear a mask. If you are in line, stay in line. Contact your state board of elections in addition to 1-800-OUR-VOTE or the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights, National Bar Association, to report discrepancies. Make sure you let your electoral officials know. Do not leave the precinct without either filing a provisional ballot, if they're unable to accommodate you otherwise, but ensure that you get all recordation necessary to ensure your vote is counted.
Dwight McKee, what do you make of so many judges, hundreds of judges, almost 1,000 of them? They're not showing up today. What do you make of that?
Well, let me start off by saying I have to say that Robert has a better handle on this thing than the government does. He sounds like he needs to be in charge.
That's true.
I think that
there's going to be problems everywhere you look. And most of them, I don't think there's any way around them. And I think that we get such mixed signals about the situation. Is the one level they're telling the judges to come, another level they're telling them not to come, that if you're over 60, it's not in your interest to be there, and most judges are over 60. And so it's not their interest to be there. They don't have real substantive judges. And so a lot of the polls are going to be closing. And if they extend the hours, that's really not going to solve the issue with the judge shortage. And so you're looking at chaos and a mess. My position is that I think you just take advantage of a horrible situation, do what you can, and call it a day. I don't see where much of this is manageable. I don't see where many people are going to trust the process. And I think that, there are going to be candidates that are going to be hurt that would have benefited by a clean election, which, nobody has now. So I just think we have to make the best of a bad, as a song say. Who is it? Aretha say, Gladys say, I want to make the best of a bad situation.
I've got to use my imagination to keep on keeping on. That's the other part of that. Well, really, I mean, what about, because I'm seeing on my Facebook postings, on the messages, Renee said, this is shady. I mean, and she said that in response to Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, national co-chair of the Bernie Sanders campaign, this flexi plan on voting. And of course, she was a state senator in Ohio. And we see the back and forth yesterday about whether they were going to have the primary or not have the primary. The judge said yes. The health director of the state said no. And then finally, after the judicial system said have the primary, then the governor said no, we're not going to have it. What do we make of that? Do you want to take a crack at that, Robert?
I think what we have is a proof positive that our country, after this is over, we gotta make some changes. We never planned for a worst case scenario. The entire country had no plan for what happens if we have a national emergency during an election. We have no safeguards in place. We have no backup plan. We have no, in case of emergency, break glass plan in place. Every state in this country, every municipality, every city council, every high school student association should have a plan in place where if in case of emergency on election day, we do X, Y, Z, and then we go to this plan. What we see right now is that there is no plan at all anywhere in the country, not on the state level, not on the federal level, not on the local level. So you have voters who are, on the one hand, you're seeing there are 100 million people in Europe on lockdown. China had 50 million people quarantined. They've closed down, today they announced that all movie theaters will be closed down. The CDC announced yesterday you should not gather more than 10 people in any place at one time. But at the same time, we have elections going on which require you to do exactly that. You have federal courts which who have invalidated the stay of or the suspension of the election in Ohio, but then you have the governor and state health officials which are not paying attention to the courts. And as many people don't know, the court, the circuit court, the Supreme Court, no court has an army or a police force to make anybody do anything. It's part of the social contract. It's a fundamental fiction of our system that we listen to the judges. And frankly, a situation like this, if the governor decides not to listen to the judges, he may indeed simply say, well, look, all you can do is make us work it out later. And when we work it out later, that'll be the same thing as a suspension of the election until things get better. So because we don't have strong federal leadership in this situation, I think we've been lulled as a nation, and this is why we started, electing movie stars and game show hosts as president, because we forgot that in case of emergency, you want someone competent and able to command the nation. We don't have that right now. That's why you're having 50 states of chaos, because there's no centralized plan. There's no rallying figure that we can turn to say what's going on with the country, because we have a game show host in the White House.
Dwight, what do you make of this? I sense a lot of questions about the integrity of the voting system. Do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. And not just of the system, but I talked a lot yesterday about pretext and the reality of the crises, and whether the crisis is contrived in order to create chaos. It's, I think when you live in a society that has been structured by conspiracy, and we spent a lot of our lives being exposed to conspiracy, whether it's Dr. King and James Earl Ray, or John Kennedy and Lee Harvey Oswald, or the Vietnam War, the Tucson Resolution. It's that people tend to wonder what's real and what's Memorex in this situation. Yeah, I think there's going to be questions about the integrity of not just the process, but the integrity of the crises.
Let me go to Pete. Pete, what's on your mind today?
Good morning, Santita. How are you?
Wonderful hearing your voice always. What compelling comment do you have today?
Okay, and believe it or not, Santita, you and I have something that we agree upon today. And I'm going to let you know what it is. You ready?
Shock me.
Okay. Everybody's got to go out and vote for Bernie Sanders, and he's the better candidate today.
Why is that? Why do you believe that?
He's genuine. He is sincere. He is genuine. I trust Bernie Sanders. But Joe Biden is a oil salesman. Joe Biden is he is not presidential. Listen, if Joe Biden was so good, Obama would have endorsed him already. He's got 8 years under his wing with Obama, and Obama hasn't done anything more for Biden than he's done for Sanders. So if Biden was that good, okay, Obama would have stepped up to the plate and said, hey, you know what? The man was under me for 8 years. This is what he's done. I agree with him, and he's got my wholehearted support. He hasn't done that yet. American voters should think, before they go to the polls, if you trust Obama, then you better trust his judgment by not endorsing Biden. It's very simple. And I don't understand how people don't get that. And I can go on by telling you this. I really do wish things were different, though. I know your dad's endorsed Sanders, and I wish it went to another level, because I think there was a big catapult for Jim Clyburn when he endorsed Biden in South Carolina. He got such a tremendous jump from that. And I really think we need to talk more, especially in the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago and Cook County, how important it is for everybody to go out there and support Sanders and vote for him. We didn't get that kind of emotion in Chicago that South Carolina got from Clyburn.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you this, because I'm not really that surprised, quite frankly, by your professed support of Senator Sanders, because people go between Sanders, many go between Senator Sanders and President Trump. They did that in 2016. What appeals to you about both men?
Well, Santita, you may not like this part of it. I trust them both. I think you see what you get in both men. Trump, he's not a...
Are you looking for someone to speak truth to power? Is that what you like about them both? I'm trying to bring it in.
Both of them, and yes, that's a real good way to put it. I believe both men have that, and I do not believe Biden does. Biden is just kind of like Biden is endorsing Elizabeth Warren's situation just to get Elizabeth Warren's commitment, and her voters. Biden, Biden really doesn't know how to be a president. He's going to jump on the coattail of whoever's around him, and that's how he's going to get ahead.
Well, very quickly, Very quickly before you go, what is it about Senator Sanders' policies that appeal to you? Is it Medicare for all? Is it the elimination of student debt? Tell me.
You know, it's a little bit of a combination of all. I think he does go a little bit too far left by saying a lot of that stuff is going to be free, and I don't, you know, you and I both know that there's not a way to pay for that, and he's not going to get it from the Senate. But, you know, what he says, Santita, is genuine, and he will be there for the American voter. He'll be there for America. If we were going through a crisis like this virus under Sanders, we'd be in a much better situation than under Biden. Biden would go around looking for, how do I get help? What do I need to do? He is not a leader, and that's what really intrigues me about Sanders. Sanders is a leader. Listen, and I'm going to say it one more time.
Well, no. Look, just one more question. I just have one more question for you, really, because it's just fascinating hearing this from you. Do you, so you're not bothered by Senator Sanders' self-characterization as a democratic socialist? About 30 seconds, you've got to respond.
No. Listen, it makes a lot of sense that we've been under socialist rule for years. Corporate companies and big companies and conglomerates have been getting forms of socialism for years. And this is, again, here, listen, Sanders, you can trust him. Nobody likes the word socialism, and the man stands on stage and says, I'm a democratic socialist. Again, he believes in what his message is, and you should believe in him as well. When he says, I'm a democratic socialist, and he knows that the word socialism and socialist scares people, and he still calls himself that, he better think that's truth to power. He knows what he is, and he's got a solid message. And you know what? There's a lady that writes that blog, and I know you know about it, that lady in Kansas City, I think she's in, that Rather Be Right. That outlines a lot of this stuff. I'm telling you, Sanders is your guy, and read Rather Be Right. I'm not joking. She's got a good thing, and I read it every once in a while. But I'm telling you, Santita, Sanders is better than Biden. And
Okay.
So you got one attempt at this, voters. You got one attempt. Today's your day. I know it's going to be tough with everything that's going on, but you got to get out there. You got to vote. You got to vote for Sanders.
Do you think Sanders is better than Trump?
Do I think Sanders is better than Trump?
Very quickly.
Be surprised to hear this. In certain situations, I do think he's better than Trump in certain situations. But
Okay.
I definitely
Okay.
Biden. And today, you got to think it's piecemeal. Today's decision is Biden-Sanders, and Sanders is 100% better.
Okay.
You better believe in Obama's decisions, and his decision was not to endorse his partner of 8 years.
Well, okay. Well, no, I want Attorney Robert Patillo and Dwight McKee to respond to what you just heard from Pete. No, thank you very much. It's fascinating. You know, you live long enough, you see a lot of things. Attorney Robert Patillo, Dwight McKee, whoever wants to jump in first, please have at it.
Well, I think that this crisis we're currently in has done more to support Bernie's candidacy than anything in recent memory. Because all of a sudden, when there's an emergency, everybody turns into a socialist. All that free market capitalism is only for good times.
Well, please explain.
Well, think about it. Let's put it this way. Airline industry is about to go bankrupt. The entire national airline industry, international airline industry is about to go bankrupt after 2 weeks of national quarantine, and then the quarantines in China and in Europe. So they're asking for a $50 billion bailout in order to stay in business. That's socialism. That is the federal government, everyone coming together societally to make sure your business can stay in place because it's for the national good. So the same people who are criticizing, where are we going to get money for Medicare for all? Where are we going to get money from free college? Where are we going to get money for all the Bernie's plans? We found $1.5 trillion to get Wall Street last week. We found money for the interest rate cut. We're finding money for the national bailout of all the major industries. We saw the press conference last week with Donald Trump where he had all the old white men around him, all the heads of America. I think that press conference placed into stark relief the fact that despite the diversity that we talk about, despite the advancement that minorities have made, when it comes down to the end of the day, the people who run this country are old 70-year-old white billionaires who run every major corporation, basically in the United States. But all of them were there for what? To beg the federal government for money. And so if we find money to give old white rich billionaires money for their corporations, then why can't we provide free child care? What sense does it make that we can bail out the auto industry and the banks, and now we're going to bail out the movie theaters, we're going to bail out the cruise industry? We're literally going to have to bail out every major industry in America after this quarantine. We find a way to do that. But, oh, no, there's a starving child that would like a sandwich. Get up, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and go work. And so I think that entire argument about socialism versus capitalism is kind of a moot point after that. And this is God's way of letting everybody, he has a way of showing you things and bringing all your BS out. And I think that's what this was, him demonstrating to the whole country, like, no, there's nothing wrong with having the government there as a backstop to make sure that it supports you when you don't have any other options.
Unbelievable. Dwight, I've got 2 more minutes before we've got to go. Your final thought?
Well, I always say when you bail out the poor, it's socialism. When you bail out the rich, it's enlightened capitalism. And so you just see that contradiction run all the way through the history of the United States. I think my chief concern in this discussion is why can't Black Americans see through that? Why are they so enamored with a Biden when the policies of Sanders are more appropriate to their situation, to our situation? What is it about the way this campaign has been structured which make Black Americans so committed and so dedicated to Biden, and he has not shown a likened dedication to them over the years? He's always forsaken us when times get for expediencies or when times require that for his political reality. Are we so intimidated by the concept of socialism that we're willing to forsake our own best interest based on a word or a notion? That's what I think Bernie's had the hardest time getting around, is how he can convince Black Americans that these policies were in their or our long-range interest. Biden has been able to pick up the Black vote, making no real commitments, and putting no real deliverables on the table. Bernie has not been able to even with the genius of a Nina or a Cornell, has not been able to climb that mountain yet.
Well, you know what? We'll have to see, and we have to keep climbing the mountain, everybody, because it is a mountain to climb, and we've got a lot of issues to resolve. And I hope that you will get out today and do your part to engage in the resolution, if you will, the resolution, and that is voting. So many people fought and died to get you the right to vote. Red, yellow, black, brown, and white, we're all precious in God's sight, and we all have had to fight to get our right to vote. Vote, vote, vote today. 866 our vote if you're having trouble at the polls. Do not get out of line. Stay in there. Vote, vote, vote. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.
My name is Mira. Many
Whoa, whoa. See if I can have a last couple of minutes with them. Oh, he left. Ask Dwight McKee if he can stay for a hot second. I'm so glad we got him. Can you stay for a hot second?
This is Santita. She wants to know if you can stay for a hot minute or two. We're just going to do the post show if you'd be interested.
It'll be like 5 minutes.
Like 5 minutes tops. All right, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to put you back standby.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna help him switch
Okay,
over.
no worries, of course. Be right back, you all. Now, you know I got to have my pretzel, Lorraine. Yes, you hear the noise. Oh.
whole show?
We can do it right now.
All right, I'll send a white for you.
I feel refreshed. I feel revived. I've had my rolled gold pretzel. I just love it so much, and so few people carrying it now. Is he locked in? Oh, is he locked in? Dwight?
Uh-huh.
Are you leaving me, Michael? Yeah. You're leaving me, Michael? Yeah. Corona kiss.
Corona
kiss. Social distancing, that's right. Thank you so much, Michael. Dwight, pearls of wisdom about today. We've seen, it seems like people are playing fast and loose with these primaries. And with the convening of people. Now, we don't want groups of more than 10, which basically kills political rallies. I mean, what is this? What is this?
Is that a question to me?
Oh, you're the only one here. I mean, before, I just wanted to grab you before Attorney Botello had to go. But because you've seen so much. I mean, you're someone who actually met Dr. King. You've worked with Reverend Jackson since, oh my goodness, what were you, 14, 15? More than 50 years ago? You've seen a lot. I mean, it's just like I don't think I've ever seen anything or heard of anything like this political season. The Republicans are, saying, hey, forget about it. We are not going to have these primaries. We don't need it. So they're just throwing those out. I feel for the Republicans. And then Democrats, we saw in Ohio, the health commissioner said we shouldn't have the primaries. The judiciary said, yeah, you should. And they went back and forth, and then the governor said, no, we're not going to have it. What are we to make of all of this?
Smoke filled back on deals. And for years and years and years, it was the basis of both political systems. And the convention was just, again, a pretext to bring people around, but the deals were made in the back room. What's different now is you have the media so involved in social media is the difference. And so you bring everybody in on the discussions, even if they're not still in on the process. So now everybody can have an opinion about what's going on, and everybody can have a point of view about what's going on. But there's still a couple of people making these decisions based on their own interest, their own self-interest. Mm. And so the reason you see such a variant approach to this thing is that everybody is making the decision based on their immediate interest, whether it's to get the masses involved and try to sway the election one way, or just keep the masses out of the room and make decisions based on the other way. But now it's covered, and people can see exactly. I don't want to say see what's going on, because they never really see what's going on, but at least they got a visual of what the different opinions are going around and the different strategies are going around.
How can you help people to feel hopeful? I'm seeing a lot of people in my chat on Facebook who are deeply suspicious, deeply mistrustful of this process. A lot of things that we've talked about down through the years, or that you see in movies, it seems like they're being made manifest in real life. What should we do now?
As well as they should be suspicious. I think the suspicion is a healthy suspicion, because things generally are not as they seem to be. The things we see are not as we think they are. And so I think that a healthy suspicion is a positive thing. I don't think we start in paranoia, but I don't think unabated trust is the answer either, because it just lends us to manipulation. And you see how Trump majors in manipulation. But you also see how Biden operates in manipulation. And you see that absence of manipulation for Bernie has worked against him. I mean, it's
unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It's very paradoxical how this thing is playing itself through.
You know, because you make the point. Oh, I'm sorry, Dwight.
Yeah, what some of your callers have to say.
Well, I let the callers go because I didn't want to hold you today because I want to get you tomorrow too. Because there's so much to talk about. I mean, I'm not going to even get into sheltering in place because that's something that I want to talk about tomorrow. I want to talk about Mitt Romney and the $1,000 that he's proposing that all Americans get because so many Americans are going to lose their jobs, Dwight. I mean, have you ever seen anything like this? I mean, where it seems like the country is about to get shut down. You see, San Francisco, they are being told to shelter in place. Do not move. You may not leave your home. You can't leave your home. I mean, Dwight, what is this? Wait a minute. For 3 weeks. This is the first place I saw it was on TMZ, but I knew it was right. San Francisco is going the way of Italy with its coronavirus safety measures. The mayor is instituting a round-the-clock curfew, banning almost everyone from leaving their homes. Mayor London Breed announced what she calls a defining moment in the United States response to the pandemic. Beginning at 12 a.m. today, all residents within the city can only leave home for doctor's appointments or runs to the grocery store. I mean, does that make you feel safer?
I think what some people are reacting to is that when you look at the number of deaths and compared to the number of people that have died from the flu, is it an overreach? Is the response in proportion to the threat? It's hard to explain, hard to justify why this situation, this virus has closed down the planet, and other viruses which have been more impactful has not. And if this risk is worth it, how deep is the risk? Does this risk have the capacity to run the table and to take out millions of people? I mean, it's. So I think most people are somewhat twixt in between. Is this overreach, or is it being not quite catastrophic? That if not bound, if not contained, does this have the capacity to take down the whole planet? I mean, it's a mystery. Who knows where this thing can go, or why this thing is being manipulated in such a way to look like it's going somewhere that it never was going to go.
Well, Renee Criswell said that this is a reordering of society as we know it. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Ernie Banks used to say to me when during times of crisis, all you can do is pray, pray, pray. And I think that's kind of all we can do is pray, pray, pray. But I think that we'll come out of here with a different planet than we went into this situation with. That whatever the consequences are of all of this, that it's going to be substantially different Earth when this is over than it was when it started.
What do you mean? I mean, like, help me catch the vision of what our new world could look like.
We have whole industries that don't exist anymore, and new industries that a week ago there was no compelling reason to think that they would be dominant industries. I heard Uber is about to hire 100,000 people to deliver food, which means that the restaurant industry may have virtually closed down in terms of people going into restaurants, sitting and enjoying a meal. And that looks like it's going to be a threat all over the planet. You have a situation where the trucking industry looks like it's virtually about to close down. And the transportation industry, if it's not bailed out, will it close down? Disneyland, what happens to Disneyland? What happens to the movie industry? I mean, it'll be a different planet. And we still haven't gotten to the trillions of locusts that's raiding Africa right now and what that effect is going to have on the food supply. I mean, we're looking at look about the fourth trumpet in Revelations when you really look at what's going on worldwide.
Dwight, it's a lot, and it's all happening at once. It's all happening at once. Give us a word before you go. I mean, because I'm going to be going out as soon as I leave the station. And everyone, I had planned to be home today, but I had to go out and get some new equipment so that I can broadcast from home. But out of an abundance of caution, I will be doing just that. If not tomorrow, certainly the next day, I will not be in here. Which, because now you can broadcast from home. I mean, so what does that say? There's a lot of work. I was talking to a Chicago public school teacher last night on Let's Talk About It with Santita, Jackson, and friends. I said they're reordering education. They're reordering everything, but you need to look at the fact that they sent these kids home in Houston, and they said, we won't see you until the fall. School year is effectively over. And I asked Christine, who is this dedicated teacher. She's been teaching for more than 30 years. I said now, and she teaches in a poor area of Chicago. What about remote learning? Because we keep hearing that now everything's going to go online and everything's going to be fine, grits and gravy. That is not going to happen in poor areas. That's where you see the digital divide. That's not going to happen in Appalachia with poor white kids. That's where you see the digital divide. Dwight, what do we see? What are we looking at here?
Chaos.
Oh.
I think that at this level, it becomes a level of faith rather than facts and fear. It really becomes a matter of faith. It's in this situation is beyond understanding. Is your anchor has the whole based on the belief and the power beyond you that can hold things together even though everything seems to be in chaos. So I think the spiritual dynamic of this country, of this planet, really becomes imperative at this point, because every now and then you hit on the planet, you hit a situation where facts and science can't take you through. You just need to have a belief beyond your present belief that whatever betides, God will take care of you, And it's what held us together for 400 years during the worst of circumstances. And in a real sense, Santita, this is a replication, a broader replication of what happened to us after the Emancipation Proclamation, is that we looked up and our world had changed, and we had no occupation to speak of. We had no land, we had no money, we had no houses, we had no families. We were just out there, and with nobody to compensate us for our situation or our work. Now, in a real sense, a lot of these white folk are experiencing what we experienced 150 years ago. And so you wonder if it'll make it more empathetic when we talk about reparations, or we talk about slavery, or we talk about the Black Holocaust. You wonder if they'll be able to identify now. I'm certain those who won't be bailed out will be able to identify more. I wonder if those who are going to get bailed out will be empathetic to those who never got bailed out.
One has to wonder. Empathy can sometimes run in short supply. Dwight McKee, I want to thank you for being with us today. I want to thank you for being with us today. One more thing before you go. Can you give people a word about going to vote today, why it's important?
I think it's important because it's part of the democratic process. But I caution them when they go vote that they keep a safe distance from whoever they're voting with. And I also caution them to call in advance to see if the polling station is going to be closed, so that they don't keep running from place to place and not be able to find a place where they can vote. I think it's very important to vote, but it's more important, or as important, to know who you're voting for and why you're voting for them. So a Kim Fox, for example, is a very important vote for us because she may be the only barrier we have between her office and abject police brutality, which is why they want out of office, because they want more freedom and latitude to be abusive. Or a Bernie Sanders and a Biden. I'm not going to say who to vote for, but at least know where your interest lies. So don't just vote. Be an educated voter. Be an enlightened voter.
Couldn't have said it better myself. There you go, everybody. Information is power. Be empowered, everybody, and show that you care and show that you are truly, 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 that you know the power of your own citizenship, that you know your own power. Get out and vote today, everybody. And if you, for some reason, cannot, if you've been in the system, if you've been in jail, if you've been in prison, and you cannot vote, you know what? Help somebody get to vote. That way you can kind of get in on the process. I mean, no, everybody in, nobody out. I totally believe that when it comes to the vote. Everybody in, nobody out. Even if you cannot vote for one reason or another, get involved. Get somebody to the polls. Help, 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 help. And let us get involved, and we'll see what the end is going to be in the morning. Because we're doing something in Illinois that the people of Ohio are not able to do today, Devin. They cannot vote today. And by the time they do vote, it seems like the plan is, yes, for the race to have already been decided. And that is what's so unsettling. Do you want to say something, Devin, before we go?
I'll chime in, and yes, that is my fear too. That by the time they get to their primaries, it'll already been decided. Bernie or Biden will have the right number of delegates, and then it's like, I hate saying that your vote doesn't matter, but at that point, it's already decided. At least in the presidential, your vote doesn't matter.
But you know what? There's so many things to vote for.
That is true.
There's so many other offices. Kim Fox is on the ballot. Criminal justice reform. When you see her, that's on the ballot. You have judges who are on the ballot. Criminal justice reform and how it is enacted. That's on the ballot. You've got so much that you need to be voting for. So please get on out there and do it. Make it happen today. Make it happen. Make it happen. I have my preferences in terms of people whom I'm going to vote for. But you know what? Look, I just want you to vote. Really. That to me is so important. It really is. I don't want you to say that your vote doesn't matter, because it really does. If it didn't matter, so many people would not spend so much time trying to deny you that vote. If it didn't matter, the Founding Fathers would have given the franchise to everybody, because we tend to give away things that we don't care about. But we hold on to things that we treasure and cherish most dearly. So think about that, everybody. Vote, 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 vote. I love you, everybody. Dwight McKee, love you so much. I will see you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Say goodbye, Devin.
Bye, everyone.
And Michael is already gone out the door. And Lady B will be back, if not tomorrow, certainly in a couple of days. I think she's getting rest. She sounds great today, too. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Love you so much. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Deborah Denise Black. She said it so well. Take care, everyone. Be blessed. Vote. Love you.